Hi, folks. Good evening. Anthony Cosio, Dean of the School of Information. We'll go ahead and get started in a few minutes. And I did also want to apologize that we're in such a big room talking on mics, but it's good at capturing Zoom. So that's kind of why we're in here. So we'll go ahead and get started in just a few minutes. So hang tight.
We have right now, get it warmed up. I think the link is, you have the right link.
Yeah,
Before this.
we do.
Okay.
I saw.
Okay.
All right. Good evening, folks. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on this cold evening. Feels like 28. It's 38. My phone says it's snowing. I'm not too sure about that, but maybe there's a little bit of snow. Um, so, um, so our agenda today is I'll go ahead and give you an overview of the School of Information, an overview of our programs. I'll take questions from the room. If you're on Zoom and you have a question, feel free to just go ahead and use the Q&A or the chat feature, and our Associate Director, Meredith Brohl, is happy to answer questions you have. We'll take questions from the room. We'll do a brief tour of the facility, and if you have any further questions, I'm happy to talk with you about your questions. So just a little bit about the School of Information here at Pratt. We are indeed the oldest information school in North America. We trace our roots back to 1890 when the founder of Pratt Institute, Charles Pratt, who you see here, created a series of libraries that were available to the public in Brooklyn. And once he created those libraries, he needed a way to staff them. And hence the Pratt Institute Library School was born in 1890. And we've really been around ever since. We spent most of our life on the Brooklyn campus in various buildings there, and moved here to the Pratt Manhattan Center in 2002. And yeah, I would say today we're very much motivated by our vision and our mission. Our vision statement you see here, um, and our mission statement here. In our mission, one of the things that makes us interesting among information schools is that we look to connect information and technology with art, culture, and design. And so you see that play itself out in a lot of our classes and our class projects. We'll do a lot of projects with museums and cultural institutions. And so it's a lot kind of a more of a kind of artsy tech kind of information school. In terms of who we are about 400 all graduate students and about 60 or so faculty. I would say our faculty are, there's two groups. We have a full-time faculty of about 14, 15 people who are primarily researchers and scholars, and they act as advisors to students. And then we have about 45 or so part-time faculty, and these are primarily folks who are working during the day as information architects, UX designers, librarians, archivists, and then they come here and teach at night. And and in fact, too, we're kind of in the second to the last week of the semester, so it's actually pretty buzzy around here. It's pretty busy. Tuesdays are a pretty buzzy night, so you can hear people kind of doing stuff. And also, we're a lot of the night classes are about to start up at 6:30, so it's pretty busy. In 3 weeks from now, it'll be completely dead, but right now it's pretty busy. And actually, this room you're in right now, this is going to be transformed on Friday into our holiday party. So all the chairs are going, and this will be the spot where the karaoke happens. The bar will be over there. So, anyways, it should be a lot of fun. But if you're interested, shoot me an email and I can get you a coveted invite to the party. Um, so just a little a bit about the school before I get into the specifics of individual programs. So our programs are all 100% face-to-face. So this is really because we do value excellence in face-to-face teaching. We never really did anything online until COVID, which forced us to have to do a lot of things online. But we are really back to we're 99% face-to-face. I think we have like one online course. So definitely, if that appeals to you. That's one of the great things about the school. If the living and working in New York City and having a physical community, that's a great thing about the school. Um, we do. I would also say, as I mentioned, we have this time of night is really busy time for classes, but we also do have classes running throughout the day. So a lot going on at 11:30, a lot going on at 3 o'clock. So it's kind of if you want to come here at night, you can do that. You want to come here during the day, you can do that. You want to do a mix, you can do that. It's all kind of up to you. Classes meet for almost 3 hours once a week. So a typical full-time student will take 3 classes and they'll be in class 9 hours a week. You can also come here part-time, so that would be 6 credits or 3 credits. That's 3 hours a week if you're only here for one course, 6 hours if you're here for 2 courses. A little bit about I'll move straight into our library and information science program, tell you a bit about that. How many people here are interested in that program? Most everyone. And how about the other folks? Do museums and digital culture, data analytics and visualization, information experience design? Gotcha. All right. um, all right. So I will go ahead and tell. The bulk of the folks in the room are interested in library and information science. So I'll tell you a bit about that program. This is definitely our oldest program. Its roots trace it back to 1890, making it in fact the oldest information and library science program in North America. We're not the first. The first was up at Columbia, but that program closed in 1990. So we're kind of the last one standing, and so we're now the oldest in the country. We are one of 6 programs that were first accredited by the American Library Association back in 1924. So we've been accredited by ALA for over 100 years. Um, and this program, as you can imagine, is really about preparing people to be librarians, archivists, other kinds of information professionals who are out there collecting information, managing it, preserving it, and providing access to it, and developing all kinds of services and programs around that core set of work. The program is typically completed in 2 years. Folks take normally 3 classes in the fall, 3 in the spring, 3 in the fall, 3 in the spring, and then they're done. People in this program tend not to do a ton of coursework over the summer. I would say you'll see a bit more interning going on. Um, but we do have a small summer semester you can take as well. Um, the In this program, there's a core curriculum. You'll take class on reference, knowledge org, info technology. These are things that kind of every librarian or archivist needs to know. And then from there, you have like a wide range of electives. Since there's such a wide range of electives, we do offer these advanced certificates and program concentrations that help you focus in on what more specialization. These are the advanced certificates, those are formal, those are like a minor, and they do have specific courses you have to take. And all of our advanced certificates live within the 36 credit master's degree. So a very popular option is to say do the 18 credit archive certificate within the context of the 36 credit Master of Science degree in Library and Information Science. Um, so these are the areas you see here: children's and young adult, digital humanities, conservation, digital curation, UX, and spatial analysis. We do also offer program concentrations, and these are more informal. They're just kind of a way to help you kind of plan out what kind of courses you might want to take. You can find more of the courses associated with those on our website. But these are, kind of more if you don't want the structure that a certificate makes possible. We do also have a 3-year dual degree program. These are for folks who really want to get into becoming experts in the world of art and design libraries and art information. Um, and this is typically done in 3 years. And the program is split between the School of Information and the Department of History of Art and Design, which is based primarily on the Brooklyn campus. In terms of like what people do after this program, this is just a small smattering of the kinds of job titles we see from our graduates. Librarian, obviously archivist, digital archivist, emerging technologies librarian, all kinds of titles like that. In terms of the graduates, where they go off and work, I would say a lot of people go and work in public libraries, publishing, colleges, museums, historical societies, nonprofits, some companies, some artist studios as well. So definitely a lot of work in the public sector, I would say. Um, in terms of graduates, in terms of student satisfaction with the program, I would say it's generally really high. So we see 94% of our graduates thought that the LIS program was a quality program that prepared them for their chosen profession. And that was from our 57 graduates who all completed that survey. So that's pretty good. That's, just about everybody. So I know no one in the room is interested in our data analytics and visualization program, but do we have anyone on Zoom who might be interested? Feel free to chat or raise a hand or anything like that if you want to hear more about the data analytics program.
Turn the chat off so we can use FAQ, but
All right, use the Q&A if you if it, yeah, raise your hand or use the QA if you want to hear more about the data analytics and visualization program. I'm not seeing anything. So I am going to, oh, Zoha wants it. All right. Zoha, I will tell you a little bit about this program, and then I'll move on to some of the other ones. Um, yeah, so this is a great program. It's a small one of our smaller programs, and it's really about preparing people to be researchers, analysts, map makers, visualizers, people who are really using information to tell interesting stories, and produce useful analysis. Um, the program, I'd say the library science program is really about collecting and managing information, and this one's really more about using information, using data. It doesn't you don't need a computer science or a statistics or any kind of specialized background. We take people from all kinds of backgrounds, and this program is a combination of statistics, computer programming, usability research. It's kind of a multi it takes information from and knowledge from multiple disciplines and kind of brings it together for folks. Oops, I'm sorry about that. So this program is also typically completed in 2 years, 3 courses in the fall, 3 in the spring, 3 in the fall, 3 in the spring. Students will do a course in data analysis, um, information visualization, computer programming using Python. And then there's a wide range of electives you can take. We do require folks take one additional class in data analysis, data visualization, data UX. Um, and I would say, we have lots of, some of the interesting things we have going on in this program. I would say really good stuff around GIS. So if you want to bring in a spatial element into your kind of data analysis, some of the stuff in digital humanities, I think, is also pretty interesting as well. So if you want to bring in humanities issues into your data analysis, um, of course, there's a lot of intersections also in the with the UX area, where if you want to study how do people understand these visualizations and how do they make sense of them and how do you communicate information visually, um, that's all a part of this program. Um, the program also does allow you to do some certificates within the 36 credit degree, such as in spatial analysis and design. So that's more of the GIS stuff, user experience, as well as digital humanities. This is a small program. We had 12 graduates this past May, and they all had very nice things to say. They thought 100% of the graduates thought it was a quality program. 100% of graduates found the curriculum to be up to date, and 100% of the graduates would recommend Pratt to a friend, family member, or colleague. So we're super happy to see that. In terms of the kinds of jobs people do after this program, this is a recent list of job titles and some of the companies they've gone off and worked at. And in this program, we do see a mix of both kind of large companies and commercial and some nonprofits as well. So, everything from Google to the Intrepid Sea, Air, and Space Museum. So, pretty versatile. And yeah. All right. So the third of four programs I'll tell you a bit about is our MS in Information Experience Design. I know we have folks in the room interested in that, and we probably have some folks online as well. So this is kind of our UX design and UX research program, and it's really about teaching people to design. Um, Useful, understandable, and engaging digital interfaces, and to become well-rounded UX professionals. Um, the yeah, I would say in terms of the digital interfaces, they can vary. It can be everything from a graphic user interface to a conversational interface. Like if you're thinking about these kind of texting interfaces that are out there, it could be it can really vary from mobile to desktop to we have a course also in like auto UX. So it's like if we're talking about the computer in an automobile, for example. So we've kind of we do to cover UX from a number of angles. We also have like a UX class called service design, where it's really thinking about not just the user interface, but also how it works together with an entire service. Right. So it's like, you imagine you go to a place like CityMD and you walk in, you get a digital interface, but then there's also like there's people behind a desk, there's a line, there's this, and so it's thinking more holistically, not just about how the interface works within a larger context, which might include architecture or other interior design elements. So this program, you don't need any kind of computer background, design background, technical experience. We take people from all backgrounds, and I would say it's also, it's quite a bit different than I would say some of these like UX boot camps that have popped up in the last few years. Those are really, I would say, they kind of, become a UX designer in 3 weeks or, that kind of thing. I would say, this is not that. This is, a 2-year intensive master's programs like the other ones I talked about. And you will learn all the knowledge and skills of being a UX designer, but it is also graduate school. So you will engage in all kinds of creative, critical, and ethical challenges. And you will create a unique portfolio with a lot of client projects in it, which so it's, a lot of those boot camps kind of produce these, like everyone has kind of a cookie cutter portfolio. So we think that our graduates definitely will have something much better than that. Um, in terms of the curriculum, people will do this program typically in 2 years as well. 3 courses in the fall, three in the spring, three in the fall, and three in the spring. And right in that first year, students will do courses in information architecture, usability, IT. We do require everyone to do an ethics and social responsibility elective, which is an increasingly important topic. And then from there, there's a wide range of electives you can take. And we're always creating new electives. Yeah, so what can I tell you about some of these electives? Some of the popular ones I would say are a lot of the client project courses where we bring in an outside client, courses like digital product design or projects and information experience design. UX design systems is a popular one where it's really about not just designing a single user interface, but thinking about an interface across a whole line of products or entire company. So, thinking about like, on the iPhone, it has kind of it's kind of a logic that spreads across a lot of Apple products. And this program is, we do offer these kind of areas of focus and courses that are associated with these areas of focus. So in this program, you will do both design and research and evaluation. However, we do find that students, after some time in the program, find that they're actually better at one than the other. And we do encourage that differentiation that, you can kind of come out of this program and become more of a designer or more of a research and evaluation person. And that's fine. These are some of the job titles you that are associated with those kinds of roles. And yeah, we say go for it. You at the end of the program, you would have a portfolio that would reflect that. If you're more of a researcher or a designer, you would see that in your that would be reflected in your portfolio. In terms of internships completed in this program, we have a lot of people interning, especially during their first summer and their whole second year. It's a real combination of startups and larger companies, definitely much more in the commercial sector. In terms of job titles, we see job titles such as this pretty frequently as the ones you see here. And then in terms of employers, we see a lot more of the large corporations, especially ones that are based here in New York, financial services, some big tech as well. Um, for example, we've had good uptick of graduates being hired at JP Morgan Chase, for example, but as well as some of these other companies. In terms of feedback from our graduating students, this past May, we had 67 who graduated, and they had nice things to say. I would say 95% agreed that the program was a quality program that prepared them for their work, and 94% found the curriculum to be up to date. So that is all good stuff that we're happy to hear. And the fourth and final program I did want to mention before we kind of go on, open it up for questions and go on our tour is our Museums and Digital Culture program. Do we have anyone who would like to hear about that program? No one in the room, but how about anyone online? You want to get a lowdown on the Museums and Digital Culture program? Feel free to use the Q&A, raise a hand. Faith has faith. All right, Faith. I'll tell you a bit about this program. Thank you, Faith. Um, so yes, our Museums and Digital Culture program is the fourth and final program I'll mention to you. And it's really a unique museum studies program that's really about looking at digital technology throughout the life of the museum and the various ways that you can use it to to enhance museum work. Um, it is typically completed in 2 years, and it gets really, really in that first year into looking at um, digital technology in the life of the museum. Folks will get into museum digital strategy. They'll do work in museums and information management. So this is really around like cataloging cultural objects and thinking about the information piece of museums, which has a lot of like collection information. And then from there, there's a wide range of electives you can take that kind of that expand the program. I would say, this particular program, you can just like you can pick any course really after the core classes. You don't have to choose one bucket or another. So you can do a class like say art documentation, for example, where it looks at various art documentation practices. Lots of field trips too as well, which I think people appreciate the Rauschenberg Foundation and the Louise Bourgeois Archive, which is somewhere here in the West Village. I've not been to it yet. Um, the and you could do courses in more of the kind of more digital tech types of courses. You can do more courses in like audience experience and community engagement. For example, we do this course called Audience Research and Evaluation, where students will do a study with on site at a museum, studying visitors and visitor experience. I believe this spring it's going to be taught by a wonderful professor called Sarah. Her name is Sarah DeYoung, and she's the head of visitor experience at the Metropolitan Museum. So I believe they'll be doing a project down at the Met. So should be a lot of fun. And Sarah was really incredible. She used to be at the Brooklyn Museum, and I remember we had students doing during COVID doing studies with museum visitors, um, socially distanced, of course. Um, and then also in this program, you can do some courses outside of the School of Information. So we do try to bring together a lot of the kind of the best museum stuff that's going on at Pratt to this program. So you can do courses more in like museology, which has more of a kind of the art history piece, like taught by more of the kind of the curatorial art historian perspective. Some courses in museum education, if that's something you're interested in. So with the art and design education program. Um, and the fine arts program even. So if you know want to take a class with some fine artists who are interested in the curatorial piece, you can definitely do that. This program does have some certificates. These are minors that live within the 36 credit degree that you can do as well. So there's this conservation digital curation, user experience, digital humanities. Then there's also a museum studies certificate, which is kind of an odd name, but it's kind of more of an art history kind of certificate that lives within the degree. I would say that this program, there's lots of, in the School of Information and in this program, there's lots of museum projects we do like all the time. Some of them are in required courses. Um, and courses like digital analytics or usability. This is a small smattering of the different museums we work with, but we do a lot of museum projects. In terms of graduates, this is it's a small program, but you can see some of the graduates where they've gone off and worked. So people doing things like assistant registrar, cataloging, collection information, collection database, some communications. Both here in the city and also kind of, various museums around the country. In terms of graduates, this is a small program. We had 6 graduates in May, but they were all also enthusiastic about the program. They felt that the faculty were effective teachers and they agree that the school created an inclusive and welcoming environment. So we're happy to see that. We also do have, in addition to our 4 master's degree, we do have these standalone advanced certificates. Like, so you can come to Pratt and just do an advanced certificate. I would say the majority of them are, you do already have to have a master's degree. Actually, all of them except for the spatial analysis one. But is anyone interested in hearing about like to come here to do it, just a standalone certificate, no degree, just a certificate? Any interest? Not in the room. Anyone on Zoom, if you have anyone want to, anyone come to hear about an advance, just doing a certificate. You see anything, Meredith? Anyone?
Anything, but there were some people signed up.
Do you remember which one? We can swing back, but definitely if in the Q&A, if you're on Zoom and you want to hear more about this, just go ahead and let Meredith know that you want to hear about one of these, and I'm happy to talk more about them. We can always swing back during the Q&A. Scholarships. So just zooming back out to things that apply to everybody. We do have scholarships. You're automatically considered when you apply. There's no separate application. And they're pretty significant. They can cover up to 50% of the cost of tuition. And the nice thing about the scholarships is that they automatically renew for your second year. So say, for example, in your first year, you get a $10,000 scholarship that automatically applies for your second year as well. So you kind of have a sense of kind of what you're getting into when you come into the program. In addition to our scholarships that are given at the time of admission, we do also have a fellowship program, and this fellowship program is the way it works is that at the end of your towards the end of your first year, you apply for a fellowship that is 9 months in duration, and it pays a scholarship of about $8,000. And there, what you do is you work 1 day a week, typically about 1 day a week at an institution, and work on a project that we've kind of set up in advance with the institution. And you can see the fellowships we're running this year. And some of these fellowship sites have multiple fellows, but it's all kinds of cool stuff. I would say like we have a bunch going on with the Museum of Modern Art, from the libraries to the archives to doing product design. We have some stuff going on at the Metropolitan Museum, doing product design, data analysis, working in the library, Museum of the City of New York, doing some communication work. The Whitney doing some work on digital assets and preservation. That's a new one for this year, which we're happy to have. We've tried to branch into smaller kinds of cultural organizations that, such as like the Lesbian History Archives and the Franklin Furnace Archive. So, working more with smaller specialized archives. We have stuff going on with in Brooklyn as well, Brooklyn Public Library, Brooklyn Museum. It seems to switch every few years. Some years we have a lot in Manhattan and then a lot in Brooklyn and then a lot in Manhattan. This year is actually pretty heavy in Manhattan. I'd say 2 years ago it was like everything was going on in Brooklyn. But yeah, we also do offer federal financial aid for domestic students, and you can apply through the FAFSA for federal financial aid. We do have a financial aid counselor who works from here, from this building. Her name's Sonia Chestnut, and you can always reach out to her or call if you have any questions about federal financial aid. Um, the one thing I did want to mention is so all of our classes in these master's programs are offered here in the Manhattan campus. So any course that has the info prefix is offered here. Um, but we do, as a student of the School of Information, you do also have access to the full resources of the Brooklyn campus, which is kind of a typical college environment with, like, you know, gates and freestanding buildings and walkways and a gym and all that kind of stuff. So if you live in Brooklyn and if that's of interest, you can use it. But if it's not of interest, you really never have to go there. The one exception I would say is we do often do our new student orientation there, but that's like once a year. So you go there once and you pretty much never have to go back. But it's kind of it's great to we can get all the graduate students together under one roof, which is kind of fun. We get like all 500, 600 people. It's pretty cool. Anyways, so yeah, so definitely if you're interested in applying, we are taking applications for the fall 2026 semester. Those classes start on August 24th, 2026. The priority deadline is January 5th, which is just really right around the corner. Um, so with a lot of these programs, I would say we don't necessarily close the application right on January 5th. We do leave it open for a while. Um, but I would say it is the priority deadline because it does give you top consideration for scholarships. And the later you apply, the kind of consideration starts to kind of go down. So yeah, definitely January 5th is your best time. I would say we also do close the applications once the program hits its kind of target enrollment. So for some programs that could be quite early. So the information experience design program, we are sometimes closing it as early as January, sometimes in February, but we have had years where it's like, January 15th, we've closed it. So we don't know how this year will be, but we will see. But definitely, the best way to avoid any issue around that is just to apply by January 5th. It's pretty straightforward, pratt.edu/apply. You do need 2 letters of reference. You need a statement of intent. That is something that's something you would probably want to pay quite a bit of attention to. You want to get into why this program, how does it intersect with your career goals, um, what you want to do with your career. unofficial transcripts from all colleges you attended. So what this really means is you don't need to get official transcripts. All you need to do is if you can get a PDF of your college transcripts, you can submit that. If you do decide to enroll, if you're admitted and you decide to enroll, we do need official transcripts. But for the application stage, we don't need that. You need official transcripts. And then there's no GRE, so you do not have to take that test. Thank God. Um, we've never required the GRE. We've never, once it became a thing, we never adopted it. We've been a graduate school for about 75 years, and we never required the GRE. We converted to graduate school in the 1950s when the American Library Association started requiring that the terminal degree for to become a librarian was the master's degree. So we became a graduate school at that point. Anyway, so I'm happy to take questions first from the room. What questions do you have? I'm going to pass the mic so our friends on Zoom can hear us, if you don't mind.
Sorry if this is a little bit of a specific question, but if someone is interested in working in a museum environment with collections, like a sort of like collections manager, registrar, like that cataloger kind of thing, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the difference between approaching that from the museum design, I don't remember the name of that one, versus and like MLIS archive sort of degree path.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say the so the library and information science degree is primarily around is for librarians and archivists, and so you're going to have to take some classes that are going to get into specific stuff around that. I would say you're going to take a class called knowledge organization, which is really going to look at kind of at its core is really what book cataloging is really what it's at its core. It's creating bibliographic records. Where in the Museums and Digital Culture program, you're going to be doing work around cataloging cultural objects, which are, you know, that's paintings or sculpture or other kinds of objects. So it's just really an emphasis is different. So you could actually take, we have a lot of library science students who will take that class in museum cataloging, but then we'll have, and it also works vice versa. So it's really, I would say it's more of an emphasis is, what's required is different. Um, but it's not to say like as one of your electives, you couldn't take a class on like museum cataloging. Um, I would say, yeah. I mean, the museum studies program is preparing people to be kind of museum professionals. The library and information science is preparing people to become librarians and archivists. And it just kind of comes down to what do you really want to do, right? So, and that's how I would pick it, quite honestly. Yeah. And just know once you're in the program, it's like, yeah, you can do all that stuff as well.
I have two quick questions. First one is, sorry if I missed this, but is there a required internship with the MSLIS? And the second one is, can you combine, like if you get a scholarship in your first year and it's going to renew your second year, can you also do a fellowship on top of that?
Thank you. Yes. So you definitely can and you could yeah, I mean that happens all the time. People have their 2-year scholarship and then they get a fellowship on top of it. That's totally fine. And I would say probably all of our fellowship recipients do have both. I'd be surprised if there weren't. And I would say, the thing with the scholarships is, and what I didn't mention was that 75% of our students get a scholarship. So it's not uncommon. It's not like one or two people. It's, not everyone's getting 50% scholarships, but 75% of the students are getting a scholarship of some kind. So definitely I would say apply because you can find that out. I know the price tag is kind of a lot, right? But then when you start to look at scholarship, it might not be quite as much as you might expect. So there's that question. The second question was about, I will remember. Remind me, a required internship. I would not have remembered that. It's not required. So yeah, there's no internship requirement. We think it's a good idea to do an internship. You can either do like an off the books internship. It's where you're just off interning somewhere. We don't know about it. That's fine. You can do an internship for credit where you do some project with your internship. It becomes part of your formal program. You get support from it through the school. You can do it that way, or you can do none of it. But we do tend to think, getting some internship experience is a good way to try out different things. We've had students who will intern throughout their entire time. They will jump from internship to internship, which is great because by the time you're done with the program, you're like, okay, well, I've been in a museum, I've been in here, I've been in, and you can kind of know what you like. And then, and it's good to know what you like and what you don't like, right? Because you don't want to land the perfect job and find out, wait, hold on, I don't like this place, So it's a good way to try things out. Cool. Other questions? Yes.
Thank you. I wanted to ask about the format of the classes. So is there like a lecture followed by smaller tutorials and what the sizes are? And then the second question I had was about for someone who might have been in the workplace for a longer time and is trying to make a career change because you're going to be getting professional recommendations. So, what should that look like? Or like what should be emphasized, I guess?
Yeah, thank you for that. So classes. So I would say our classes are small. They're our average class size is between 11 and 12 students. And when we go on the tour, you can kind of peek in and you'll kind of see that. We don't, there's no big lecture halls, none of that kind of stuff. This room, would never run a class in here. We'll do like a bit like big events that brings the whole school together, but we won't do um, anything like, we don't have big classes. I would say in terms of format, it's going to vary by instructor, but I would say a pretty common format would be to have maybe some discussion, some lecture, maybe some group work, some project work, all within that 2 hours and 50 minutes. So a little bit of hands-on work, a little bit of lecture, a little bit of discussion. We try not to do, try to break it up that way, I would say. So, some classes will do a client project where it's like, okay, we're gonna bring in our client and we're going to talk to them today. And we'll iteratively work on something. um, or you might have a group project. We have a lot of group projects, which maybe not might not be everyone's favorite thing, but quite honestly, I mean, that's kind of the workplace is a lot of collaboration. So the more you do it, the better you get at it. So we tend to find our grads do very well, but they're doing a lot of presenting, they're doing a lot of collaboration. They're getting very good at that, and it's an important skill in the workplace, especially as many companies are going back in person. There's less of the kind of Zoom jobs. I think we're seeing that as well. So the other question was about, I totally, okay, remind me. It was, oh, references. Yeah. So yes, so you can use really anyone can be a reference who can speak about your work. That could be a coworker, a boss, a professor, as long as it is not a close personal family member. That's going to be fine. But yeah, anyone who could speak about your work, former bosses, that's going to be fine. I mean, we have a range of different students. We have some students who are coming back after doing a career change, who, might have had a 10, 15, 20-year career. We have people who are literally just, graduated, in May and they're coming in, so it's a mix. I'd say the average age here is probably slightly under 30, but there is range there. So but you will have people who are, not a lot, but you'll have people in their 40s, 50s, 60s. But it's going to cluster around kind of the most common age is going to be 28 or 29. But there's some range there. Other questions? So how about, so we always get good questions from Zoom.
The chat.
Uh,
I can talk about
So, so Meredith has been answering questions on Zoom. Is there anything that we should talk about, that you want to talk about live? All right, go ahead and turn that mic on.
I'm gonna answer this first one just because it's popular and a lot of people will want to know. And if there's other ones that I think are better for you, I'll hand those over. The question is, how can one distinguish themselves as an IXD applicant with no prior experience compared to applicants who do? I think it's a good question. It's a common question, and how I'm going to answer it is applicable to all programs, really. This comes from an IXD prospective student, probably because we don't look at portfolios, which is a little bit weird to some people. So genuinely, we will not even open them if you send them along because it's just not a part of our review. It doesn't help your application or hurt it. But what you can do to distinguish yourself when applying to any of our programs is really, like Anthony mentioned, all of that like convincing is really for the most part done in your statement of purpose. It's a holistic review. So we take the whole applicant in and like we're kind of looking for that through line that student knows, has an idea of what's next for them, is a really good idea for why they want to come here. These are a lot of like career changing programs. So just being honest about that. We don't want to hear your resume, like, an expansion of your resume. We want to know something personal about you. What brought you to this spot in your life where you're interested in taking on this program. And yeah, well, of course, what you want to do next with the program, bonus points for touching on something related to like ethics, topics related to social responsibility. That's a big piece of what we do here and what you'll learn in the classroom. And it's one of our main values is making information accessible to everyone. And that happens in different ways throughout all of the programs. So that's a super special little piece of advice that we're gonna look for there. And we want to just know what you're excited about at Pratt. So like given what you want to do based on your past experiences, what resources are you going to use? So just, a little bit of your homework, right? We want to know if you're looking forward to client projects that maybe you look at the DX Center's website. That's our where most of our client projects take place through the IXD program. Things like that. So, we're looking for that student who's academic, not just that like boot camp student, like Anthony mentioned. So hopefully that's helpful, but everything comes together. So if you don't have prior experience, we're really not looking for that. We're just looking for you to tell us your story. Like, how did you? That's totally fine. We love students that come from like a biology background or finance background or they're lawyers. That just adds to the conversation. Like, why do we need user experience or any of these things coming from different fields? And that's what we're looking for.
Cool. Anything else we want to talk about before we go on our nifty tour? Any other questions? Going once. Going twice. Yes.
I wanted to give someone else an opportunity. Just given the current market conditions, is Pratt seeing more applications than usual?
You mean job market, poor job market? Yeah. So that's an interesting question. So, we don't really fully know. Yeah, we don't really know. I mean, we know after the January 5th application deadline. So generally what we do see is when the job market does not do well, people go back to graduate school. So we tend to see a spike if the economy is doing badly. If but if the economy is doing well, we see less people. Um, and yeah, I would say that, but um, there's some odd dynamics that are out there because of kind of, I guess you could call it maybe the political environment, but we have some, some policies that are not super friendly to higher education, which will probably, tamp down enrollment. We have also the US is not as friendly to international students as it once was. And so, a program, not all of we do get folks from other parts of the world. India and China, for example. And so we're very much welcome you all if you are in India or China or anywhere in the world. Where the U.S. is still a friendly place, but there are some policies out there I would say that are not as friendly as they could be. But New York City, I would say, is a wonderful place to come from anywhere, and it's the kind of the global. I don't know. People don't call it melting pot anymore, but just kind of you can be whoever you are, come from anywhere. So we have that going for us. But yeah, so I would say it's really for us. It's too early to say. I mean, my initial thought is that it's probably less than the last few years. Less people would be coming, but we will have to see. I realize I'm not good at telling the future. I thought, I was like, oh, like all the, like when Mom Dami's elected, all these things are, gonna, like, Trump is gonna do this and this and this. And then it's like he was elected and he was like, oh, we're best friends. I'm like, I was not expecting that. You know what I mean? I thought that, we'd have, Black Hawk helicopters, like, landing on buildings and things like but so like I don't know it's trying to tell the future is really it's not too useful, so yeah, we have to wait for the data to talk about that. All right, so any last questions? Going once, going twice. All right, sorry about that beeping. So we're going to go ahead and go on a tour of the facility, and if you're on Zoom, I'm actually going to bring you with us using my phone, which is a little funny, but I will do that. And definitely, if you find yourself in New York, we're happy to give you a real honest to goodness tour. But you can join us on my phone, and you can see lots of stuff that way. And definitely, if you have questions that you want to ask in private that are not, on my phone, there'll be time for that. But if you're on Zoom, you can always email us if you have questions as well. And those are some of the relevant emails, my email, admissions at the School of Information Office. But thank you for attending. So let's go ahead and go on our nifty tour. I'm going to go ahead and switch over real quick the sound, and this will just take a second. All right. All right. Sorry about that. All right, folks. So welcome to Pratt Manhattan Center. And you are here in our new room 201. This space was renovated during COVID. And so we've been in this building since 2002, but luckily we had a bunch of renovations right around COVID. So the space like this looks pretty new, but it is also, it's pretty new. It's, just been with us for a few years. But yeah, let's head on out. So this room is just that we use this room for events. So for example, I mentioned we have a holiday party this Friday. We basically take over that room, we take over this space. And but it's also a space, just a lounge you can use kind of any time of the day, get some work done. And the building's open till 1 a.m. every night. So you could always come here and work um, and get some stuff done. Um, and you see there's a exhibition up right now from the School of Continuing Education. There's also a show downstairs. The gallery closes at 5, but it's some pretty well-known artists who were inspired by the work of W.E.B. Du Bois. And so that shows up through this month. It's closing sometime this month. But if you're interested in any of those artists or hearing more about W.E.B. Du Bois, we have an event on Thursday. An expert on W.E.B. Du Bois is coming down from Amherst, Massachusetts, who's going to give us a talk on his data portraits. So most people don't know that he was like a very early data visualization person. So we're gonna she's gonna take us through all of his data visualizations, and then we're gonna go downstairs to the gallery and have an event and actually see some artwork that was inspired by Dubois' data visualizations. So there, for example, there's a piece by Theaster Gates that is clearly inspired by his data portraits. Um, so definitely, if that's of interest, it's open to the public on Thursday at 5 o'clock. So feel free to join us. Um, but in terms of in this space, the other thing, we have a class going right here, right now. This kind of gives you, this is kind of a seminar style class. There's probably about 15, 16 people in there. Everyone's around a table. This is more of one of our early classes in the series, more of a discussion, kind of graduate school theory kind of classes called Foundations of Information. It's kind of one of the classes people take before they get into a lot of like the specialization kinds of stuff. But you can kind of see, as I mentioned, it's kind of, our classes are fairly small and intimate. Um, yeah, so we can go ahead and head on upstairs. Where do you think we should go, Meredith? You want
Top down, or do you want to go?
maybe the library.
Library, okay,
Library, we'll work our way up. All right. Yeah, we can all fit.
We don't need to just like the elevator.
I know. I wish we had like a coat check for you guys. I feel bad.
Yeah.
I know everyone's got bags and coats. For a holiday party, we will have a coat.
Yes.
Um, associate degree, yeah. Um, so this is the fourth floor, and so there's another department up here as well. But what's interesting is there is our library here, and so this was from the original. This wasn't renovated, and during COVID, it looks a bit older, but it is our library, and it has a lot of stuff that is bought online these days, like ebooks and e-journals, but things that can't be bought electronically are still bought in print, and you could check them out here. So we could do a quick little run through here. Um, which is Harsh is here. Oh my, Harsh, you're here.
I'm in
You,
my regular clothes.
well, because you weren't expecting us, of course.
There's the LIS alumni here.
Welcome to Padman at you guys. So I can give like a quick tour of the space. Amazing. So my name is Harish Tagar. Title is Access Services Manager. And we have a much bigger library space at the Brooklyn campus. Highly suggest you visiting that space as well. But why don't we quickly like go around and I'll show you the space. These spaces right here are our service desk. I'm usually seated there. And what you see around are these like mini displays that are curated by our graduate assistants and staff members. There you see some tote bags, buttons, magnets. You're more than welcome to take them.
Oh, yeah.
And as we move further into the lab space, we have a computer section, accessibility station. On my left, we have a reference collection that can only be in the library space. Above that, we have new arrivals, which can be borrowed. The borrowing period for any of the circulating collection, including the new arrivals and the items that you see in the stacks, is up 6 weeks. In addition to the 6 weeks, you can do additional sort of like renewal for additional 6 weeks, as long as that particular item does not have any one rating on it or any item fault. As we move further into the library space, we have an oversized book collection. And on my left, we have a small exhibition as well. Here, we will see primary articles. They are all arranged in alphabetical order. These directly correlate with the programs that are offered in this building. That would include obviously School of Information programs, arts culture management, design management, and some of the associate programs on graphic design and what have you. And as you move further into the library space, we have quite space, with charging station of some plant. But I forgot to mention that some of these periodicals do get bounded, and those are placed on my left again in alphabetical order. And as we move further into the library space and we'll make a U-turn, our library uses DUI decimal classification system. So you can imagine if the smallest number 000 is here, the 900 or then the highest number would be at the far end of the library. On the left, we have a small degree reduction. We also lend out, in addition to books, iPads, portable chargers, headphones. And little by little, we are sort of like that collection is growing. So yeah. I've been running through with one. And if you wish to learn more about admin services, I behind suggest you with the library.edu and click on the services tab. You'll come across all the services that we offer. For example, interlibrary loan. You might be wondering, what is interlibrary loan? Let's say if there is a particular item that you have been wanting to use, which we do not have access to, we can always get it from other libraries or like request a PDF service. Basically, if we have an item and if it's a particular chapter that you need a scan of, we can scan it for you and send it to your email within like 2 to 3 business days, sometimes on the same day, depending on the load. And there are many other services, so research consultation be one of them, and many, many others. We have a scanning station as well, 2 scanning programs. So let's say for the non-circulating for periodicals that you saw earlier, the reference items, there might be some items that you're like, you know what, I don't order a book that you feel like I don't feel like checking it out or buffering it, but there's a particular chapter in there that you really wish to like read. You can scan that chapter yourself and email it to yourself to then read at a later time. Here we have and another scan. And it is a cloudy day, but we can still see the Parsec there. But this room can be reserved either by scanning the QR code on the posters that we have around the library or on the library's website as well. There is a section of the library's website where you can go in and then reserve the space. Mostly it's first come, first served basis. And from time to time, we would see sometimes faculty reserving the space, sometimes student groups who reserve the space, even PALA, which is the ALA chapter, would sometimes conduct their meetings from this room. And yeah, room is equipped again with a small charging station, some computers. I usually like to on the tour I mentioned there is a mural by Brazilian twin artist brothers of Genius. You can, if you wish to learn more about it, simply do a Google keyword search and you'll find all about those murals. Thank you so much. That was the end of the tour. If you have any question, feel free to email me. My email is h.at.edu. Business card would be at the front. Yeah.
Thank you. And Harsh is usually dressed in impeccable, and we caught him in his workout clothes.
I've never seen him.
I know.
In my life.
I know Harsh is usually in like a starched shirt.
Like super proud, like really good clothes. First thing we that's probably come down.
I know. I was like, yeah,
That.
I know.
He looks great, but just.
Yeah, it's we're used to, yeah. I guess that's the thing with working in a library. You never know who's gonna come in, right?
Yeah. So are we gonna skip the 5th floor?
Let's skip the 5th floor. So the 5th floor is a lot of computer labs. So we do have some classes down there, but it's not particularly interesting. It's like I mean, you've seen a computer lab, you've seen them all. You know?
Service desk is there, so. We need to like hold some cleaning or if there's some ID there, start it from.
Yeah, you need to print a poster, you need to, they do all that. Any IT issue, you can go there. But it's not really worth it. Five. It's a bit more gaudy. So anyways, yeah, there's a flyer right there for that talk I was telling you about earlier. Yeah, so the sixth floor is really kind of, I would say, is the kind of the hub of the School of Information. A lot of our classes are here. But we do also offer courses on the seventh floor, the fifth floor, the second floor. Um, and yeah, so we can head on in. I'm gonna close these doors real quick so I don't flood these people with my voice. I'm just gonna get this door so I don't. All right, so this space we call the Info Lounge. It's just a space in between classes a lot. It's a pretty big gathering spot for people in between classes to get some work done. So we have some folks getting some stuff done right now. Um, but you can see in our classes they're all pretty small. So for example, over here we have our Archives and Cultural Heritage Lab, and we have some students working on what looks like a processing project, archival processing. So really a class like this is called our Archival Theory and Practice course. Students will work on, you'll learn about the theory of archives, but then you'll actually okay, let's practice it and do it, right? And so at this late point in the semester, you have, really, you have students, putting things in, working through boxes and reorganizing and processing archival records. So you can kind of, if you peek in, you can kind of see that through the window. You could see kind of that's what's going on in there. But then we have, a lot of, you can always peek in here, some of our, this looks like this doesn't even look like a class. It looks like some students are just hanging out. um, but what it's in here, we have a class here with a person who works at NYU Library. She's Vicky Rampin. So this is a data librarianship class, so that's going on here. We have Anthony Conta over here teaching a digital product design class. He works at Meta, and his job is to help increase engagement with Facebook, which is, could use the help. So he was most recently at Amazon Music, but has moved on. So he's running a class down there. I think down the hall, it looks almost empty, but maybe we could check it out. It's not. So I think so the normally on Tuesday night we have a digital analytics class going on in here, but I believe they on their second to last class, it's taught by a Soraya Johnson who works at NASDAQ, and she has the final class at NASDAQ where they present their work to some of the executives at NASDAQ. So they're not here right now. But yeah, I would say this is kind of a typical School of Information classroom where you can do some lecture here, you can do some group work, you can do some computer work, you could do the service design class has been doing this thing over here, this mapping thing, which is like I can't even it's like insane. But this is actually like a service design project, a journey map, it looks like. So this, so it's, I would say, a lot of our classrooms have also like these like supply bins where it's like some things are computers, but some things we also just do on paper, with rolls of paper and post-its and boards and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so it's kind of really really, we use whatever tool is right for the job, I would say. Um, yeah, so it looks like this is definitely service design. Yeah, I think there's a project maybe going on with New York Public Library over there. But yeah,
Those presentations are actually next week. If anyone
they are
wants
next
to
week.
Zoom in And watch them. I can give you the link. I'm gonna go in person, so.
Yeah, so if you're interested in service design, they're it's taught by Professor Shruti Chivakula, who's kind of really pretty incredible, one of our incredible full-time faculty. Yeah, she just wrote a book on ethics and UX, and yeah, it's crazy. Um, a lot of these posters are from like our class on visual communication. No. So we have kind of a lot up on the walls these days. So like this is a
I'm so sorry. Oh, no.
it's okay. Oh, it's been
All good.
we'll figure it out. We'll fix it. Don't worry.
We will definitely fix it. I don't know how it goes. Don't, not your fault.
Well,
Hold on.
Yeah.
Especially I put it on this table for it.
I'd bring it to the office. We could get we can ask Professor Smith about how it goes. Yeah, you know who knows how to fix it? Nana will know how to fix it. So yeah, so this was just like, we do exhibitions, right? This is from the design, storytelling, and information class. They were doing zines and little books. But a lot of the work you see on the walls will either be for classes, but some of it will be presented at conferences. Some of it will be presented at Info Show, which is our annual showcase of student work, which happens each May, where we invite the public. It's a huge event. We have about 400 people who come, and students present what they've been working on. But yeah, we can go ahead and head on down. We have spaces students can book. For example, this room is a space that any student can book, and what's nice about it is it's a small meeting space, but there's like some of our wellness resources are in here. We have like a massage chair and something like a light therapy device. But
So like a real massage chair.
it's a real.
I got it. Black Friday 2 years ago, it's like the big ones.
But it does your whole back, does your feet, anyways, but yeah, but it's, we're down to 2 weeks in the semester, so you could there's a little bit of tension in there of people like finishing things up, yeah.
For the massager.
I know, we're like, yeah, I'm on as important Zoom. But yeah, a lot of this work down here, we're getting into a lot more of posters presented at our info show, the end of the year showcase. We have, students do a lot of work. They do research with faculty, for example. So like we have students doing work with in their fellowships. So like I mentioned, we do a lot with the Museum of Modern Art. So you can see this is this is a fellowship project. So you can, so we have a lot of projects going on. This is a class with it would be kind of more of a techie class, like a lot of computer work, computer programming kinds of stuff. There we go. So every student is assigned a full-time faculty advisor, and you can go in and see them during their office hours or during appointments, and you can talk about curriculum and career interests and like make sure you're doing what you think makes sense for you. So yeah, a lot of them have offices down here. And most of them are teaching. A lot of them are home by now though, because a lot of them teach a lot more during the day. We have more faculty offices here, more faculty offices here. This is kind of an interesting graphic. This just shows you where our students are from. So we did this at the fall 25 new student orientation, did like a little pin activity. You can see a lot of students are from here in North America, but then we also do get, a few folks from South America, China, India, some Europe, a little bit of Africa. So yeah, there's it's kind of, and they're all kind of intermixed together. So it's kind of a interesting mix, and people from all over the world and the country. Oh, someone left something that was lost in the sound. I'm so sorry. Anyways, so some things that you see down here, like as I mentioned, all our full-time faculty are primarily researchers and scholars, and you can kind of see some of the stuff they're publishing on. These are like recent articles, recent books over there as well, so you can find out if there's, someone resonates with what you're interested in. We are obviously getting ready for the holidays. This board over here is kind of interesting. It's we have student chapters, student clubs that are national chapters of student chapters of national organizations, and they'll organize events and different things to enhance the student experience. They're funded by Pratt through our Office of Student Involvement. And things are, I'd say events are starting to quiet down because we're kind of getting to the end of the semester. But we do have some stuff, going on. For example, the the museums group, the Emerging Museum Professionals group, has a group tour at the Met happening with Professor Leah Constantine, who worked there for many years. So just we've got like a mock interviews. The Association of Information Science and Technology group is organizing mock interviews, which is super useful. Uh, right tonight there was this gingerbread cookie design challenge going on. So most things are kind of, they mix like professional and social, but then sometimes we'll just do things that are just like, it's just social, just you know relaxing a little bit, maybe just something that's kind of fun. Like this is serious mock interviews. Gingerbread not so much, right? So but yeah, we have our holiday party, but yeah, and our admin office is here. We have you can see our newsletter, and we do an annual, or not a monthly jobs newsletter. So this is gets Meredith coordinates this. It sends out just like job opportunities and that sort of thing. So that gets sent out. Um, yeah.
For the UX folks, this is the user
Oh.
experience lab. So this is where we do like a lot of the usability work, and we have our Python and stuff like that. We have some equipment down on the second floor though. We did the UX, automotive UX course, we look at driving thing and all sorts of stuff. So there's like a room here.
A room. Yeah. Is there anyone in there?
No.
No. Okay. This one is like pretty popular. It's often booked. But yeah, I think that is pretty much the sixth floor. And when it's Hanukkah, we will light again. Too early. Too early. Too early. Don't jump. The sad thing, Hanukkah starts after the semester is over, so no one will see this lit. All right. So let's go up to the seventh one.
One more floor.
One more floor.
Where we were.
Thank you. All right, so this is our seventh and final floor. So we call this area the Pratt Manhattan Student Union, and it's obviously a place to hang out, get some work done. Um, there's food in this area here. There's like coffee and fresh food and prepackaged food. If you don't want to go outside, which turns out to be helpful on a day like today. But also what we have up here is these are student services offices. So if there's something that you they provide service around kind of anything that's not like a professor. They're kind of up here. So it's like financial services, health, counseling, learning access center, um, kind of anything that's kind of a support for students. They keep their offices up here, and they're not here every day. They have different days of the week. Like they'll be like Thursdays, like the health office is here, or like Friday, so but they have a schedule over there. And of course all these offices are represented fully on the Brooklyn campus, which is, much bigger. I mean, there's, it's 25 acres, it's like 20 buildings. Um, but yeah, I would say what else? And there's a lot of classrooms up here, but we don't necessarily need to go in them. There's like down here in the back there.
There's some study spaces, private study spaces around too. You can walk this weekend if you want.
Yeah.
Rooms out, but any classroom that's not in use, uses this space.
Yeah. But yeah, that is pretty much the space. But I think that pretty much completes our tour. For those of you on Zoom, I'm gonna go ahead and sign out. But if you have any further questions, I'm happy to, shoot me an email, and we're happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you for joining and